This is the review for the test on Monday on rectangles, the rhombus, and parallelogram. The practice test is going to be on page 64 through 69. So if you want to get a good grade, you need to do those pages. It's going to show you everything for the test beforehand. Let's review this table here. This table you can keep with you on the test. So make sure that everything is filled out and that under rectangle, opposite sides are parallel is circled, and it has 4 right angles is circled. Under parallelogram, make sure that opposite sides are parallel is circled. And under rhombus, make sure that opposite sides are parallel and all sides are congruent are circled. The reason why we circled these parts is because those are the only things you need to prove that shape. So if we want to prove something is a rectangle, we have to first prove that opposite sides are parallel, and then we prove that it has 4 right angles. To prove opposite sides are parallel, remember, we use slope formula. And to prove that something has 4 right angles, we multiply the slope of consecutive sides. And if we get -1, they are perpendicular and they make a right angle. So for the parallelogram, we just have to write down opposite sides are parallel and then prove. And then for the rhombus, we have to prove that opposite sides are parallel, just like we do with the rectangle and the parallelogram. But then we also have to use the distance formula of 2 consecutive sides. To prove that all sides are congruent. So let's say you get to the test and you're completely stuck. What is the first thing you should do? Plot the points and then see if opposite sides are parallel, because that is the common trait amongst all of the shapes. Then, if you get opposite sides to be parallel, you can make a decision after that. But if you are stuck, there is no reason why you should not plot the points and then use the slope to prove opposite sides are parallel. So let's do this example here. It says, determine whether the figure is a rhombus. I underline rhombus because that is the shape I'm dealing with. I look at my quadrilateral table. I look at the 2 things I need to prove, that opposite sides are parallel and that all sides are congruent, and I do that. So first I prove that opposite sides are parallel. And then the second thing I need to prove is that all sides are congruent. So let's plot our points here. And we will get a shape that looks like this. So remember what I said, you always start by proving opposite sides are parallel. So let's first try to prove that EK is parallel to ZT. So we write out the slope of EK is 2 plus 1 over 0 plus 2, which gives us 3 over 2. Then we find the slope of ZT, which is -1 plus 4 over 2 minus 0. And we get 3 over 2. We have EK is parallel to ZT because they have the same slope. Now let's prove the other set of opposite sides are parallel, KT and EZ. So let's do the slope of EZ, the slope of EZ, we get -4 plus 1 over 0 plus 2 equals -3 over 2. Then we have the slope of KT equals -1 minus 2 over 2 minus 0 equals -3 over 2. These are the same slope here, so I know that EZ is parallel to KT. So I have proven my first property. Second, I want to prove that all sides are congruent. So I want to find the distance of ZT, because I have to pick two consecutive sides, so I'll pick ZT and ZE, and I'm going to find their distance here. I get the distance of ZT equals the square root of -2 minus 0 squared plus 1, -1 plus 4 squared. So I get the distance of ZT equals the square root of 4 plus 9, which becomes the square root of 13. So ZT is the square root of 13. Let's find the distance of the consecutive side, ZE. We get the distance of ZE equals the square root of -2 minus 0 squared plus -1 plus 4 squared. We get the distance of ZE equals the square root of 4 plus 9. The distance of ZE equals the square root of 13. So these two sides are congruent. And we have proven that ZT is congruent to ZE. Therefore, since we have proven that opposite sides are parallel, and that all sides are congruent, these are our properties used. This is where we're stating the properties used. We can say, yes, EKTZ is a rhombus. And on the test, you would write these things on this line here, but I ran out of space, so I wrote it around it. Let's do a parallelogram problem. This says 4 jets are flying in formation. The coordinates of the 3 jets are Q, R, and S. I'm going to plot those now. Okay, I have my points plotted. If the figured jets are located at the vertices of a parallelogram, so there are 4 jets trying to fly in this formation. We're trying to find the location of this jet here, and we don't know what that point is just yet. So we have to calculate it. It says, what are the possible locations of the missing jets? So, if we connect these 2 points here, Q and R, we can find the slope of the line QR. Remember that slope is the change in y over the change in x. So if we find the change in y, we go down 1. So the change in y is -1 over, and then we go over 3. Over 3. So the slope of QR is -1 over 3. This problem tells us that the figure is a parallelogram. So I know that S is going to be the line ST, I guess we'll call the other point T. The line ST is going to be parallel to QR, so it's going to have the same slope. So I'm going to use the same slope to find the other point. So I'm going to go down 1, -1, and then I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3. And I'll get this point here for T. I connect the lines. and I find out what that point is. That point is t is 2, -2. And then I can connect the other 2 points just to make sure it looks like a parallelogram. And it does. So the problem tells us that we have to find 3 possible locations in order to get credit. But it's okay, ignore that part. The answer is T here. So now we're going to do a rectangle problem. It says ABCD is a rectangle. What do we know about a rectangle? I want you to think before you start answering the question, right? A rectangle. Okay, so all 4 angles are 90 degrees. It has 4 right angles. This side is congruent to this side is congruent to this side, and the diagonals bisect each other, producing 4 congruent segments. So, think about the rectangle like that. Now, let's look at the figure. It says, find x if you know that the measure of angle BAC equals 2x squared plus, equals 2x squared plus 52, and then find the measure of CAD when it equals 10x plus 50. So here we go. BAC. I put the information in the figure. Angle B, I start with B. A is the letter in the middle, so that is the vertex. C. My angle will be here. And I put the name the problem tells me. 2x squared plus 52. The next part says the measure of angle CAD. I start at C. I go to A, which is the letter in the middle, so it will be the vertex. And then I go down to D. So the angle they're talking about is this one here. And it is 10x plus 50. So remember the rectangle. It has 4 right angles. So I know that this angle here must equal 90 degrees. This angle here must equal 90 degrees. So if I add these 2 expressions together and set them equal to 90, I can solve for x. And I'm going to do that here. I get this equation. 2x squared plus 52, so this piece, plus 10x plus 50, this piece, equals 90, this whole piece here. I combine like terms. I get 52 and 50 are like terms. I get 2x squared plus 10x plus 102 equals 90. I want to move this 90 over to the other side of the equation because I can already tell it's a quadratic equation. I move 90 over. I get 2x squared plus 10x plus 12 equals 0. Now, if I see this number here and it can be divided by all of these, I'm just going to divide this whole side by 2. It just makes the thing easier to factor. So I get x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So let's factor that now. We have a times c, b. Okay. So b is 5, a times c is 6. I have 5 here, minus 1 here. I get 3 and 2 here. I put it in the same here. I get x equals 3, x plus 3, and x plus 2. I solve, I get x equals -3, x equals -2. Now the problem says find x, so I have x equals -3, x equals -2. And then part B says find angle BAC. So BAC, B So it's going to be 2x squared plus 52 is the measure of angle BAC. So let's substitute. We have 2 times negative 3 squared plus 52. Or we have 2 times negative 2 squared plus 52. Here I get 9 times 2 is 18 plus 52. And we get 70 degrees here. And then if we substitute over here, we get 60 degrees. So these are going to be our two answers.